Darnell Mooney. And we are da, live.
Cool.
All right, let's I'll share it out. Share it out. Feel me?
Yeah.
How's
Go
it
tweet that
going,
thing.
squad? Tweet that thing.
Tweet that.
All right, come hang out on the live stream. All right,
Wait for
cool.
some fans to get in the chat.
Of course. How do you compete with 7 hours of commercial-free NFL football? I have no idea.
Yeah, Red Zone is awesome. I got it on too.
I love Red Zone.
Right over there.
What's up, Zach?
We're
Harry?
driving right now. I'm hoping that we get that Colt McCoy fan page, man. We need that win, so I want the
Colt McCoy fan page. Do you think that's actually? Do you think someone will create a fan page for Colt McCoy? What's up, Simon?
That's what Zach just said in the chat.
Oh, okay. You're starting a Colt McCoy. Zach, if you start a Colt McCoy fan page, I will back you 100%.
We'll give it a shout out.
I'll invest 1,000 pennies. You have to figure out what to do with 1,000 pennies, but it'll take you far. I promise. Oh, guys.
My AirPods don't work.
I do like it. What is it?
Now we're going with the gaming headset.
What's up, Elite Joe? The Giants guys. What's up, Pilgrim's Point? My guy.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Always love to have you in there.
Can you hear me?
I'm super excited about today, Harry. Do you think the Giants have any chance? We always have a chance. Always have a chance. You remember Super Bowl? Both against the Patriots. Didn't have a chance, but we won. I think this game especially, though, is going to be there's a lot, actually, I want to talk about when it comes to this game and how we're going to compete. Can you hear me, Anthony?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I switched my headphones.
Cool. All right, great. Just want to make sure. The Giants have a tall task ahead of them. There's no question about it. But let's start off with a couple of things on defense for the Seattle Seahawks. They're without their starting corner, Trey Flowers, this week. They already have the worst secondary in the NFL. And just to give you some more insight into that, their passing defense, they rank dead last, allowing 328.8 yards per game, which is about 40 more than the next team, which is the Atlanta Falcons at 291.5. The Giants have been making insane strides. I think they're about 19th. They were 27th 3 weeks ago. So they've been making a really big strides in the secondary with the Isaac Yiadom actually playing pretty well. But for the most part, Seattle's defense was already crappy, and now they don't have Trey Flowers, the starting cornerback. So this is going to be – Colt McCoy really can sling the football. I think it comes down to them taking some shots downfield and really and not being scared to throw the ball, right? What's up, Airborne?
Yeah, totally. I'm a little distracted in the chat. Hold on. Defense will keep it close. Our offensive line dominating will give us a chance to win. Don't want to rely on Colt. That's what the Giants guys say. I agree. I don't want to rely on Colt. I say all aboard the Wayne train.
Agreed.
Let's ride the Wayne train over to this victory. That's what I'm hoping for.
Wayne Gallman has been an absolute stud. And okay, so this is an argument I had with a bunch of people on Twitter this past week, and it was about Daniel Jones, right? He's seen a lot of development the last 3 weeks. Hasn't turned the ball over once, right, in 2.5 games. People are saying, well, he's not throwing any touchdown passes, though, right? He's not throwing any touchdown passes. And it's a solid argument. I'm sitting here like, you're right. He's done 1 touchdown over the last 3 weeks. But you know what Wayne Gallman has done? He's scored 6 touchdowns over the last 5 weeks. All of them have been inside the opponent's 5-yard line. Okay. So what does that tell you? That tells you Daniel Jones did the hard work, grinded it out, got all the way down the field, and gave those touchdowns away because it's a team sport and they want the Giants to be a team. And they gave those touchdowns to Wayne Gallman. Those easily could have been passing touchdowns for Daniel Jones. So, you have to think of it in context. I think Daniel Jones has been amazing. I wouldn't say amazing, but I'd say he's doing better. And Wayne Gallman has been a stud. The Giants have 3 consecutive games with 140 plus rushing yards and like 7 or 8 games with over 100 rushing yards. It's their running game has been stellar, and that's where they're going to try to do today. The problem is Seattle has a really good run defense, right? They have a really good run defense. So how do you, Anthony, I'm going to see what you think. How do you get around that?
They do, and I don't know, the way you would get around it is throwing the football. But
Right.
like we've said, you don't really want to rely on Colt McCoy. So I guess they're just going to have to be creative, probably use a lot of pre-snap motion and try and get some lead blockers out in front for Wayne Gallman and set him up so that he has a lot of easy running lanes. Just make things easy, simplify the game for Wayne Gallman and run the offense through him. That's really what I would think the game plan should be.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, on defense, when it comes to James Bradberry, I see a couple of people talking about him. He basically was like, this is how you shut down James Bradberry. And this is what Jalen Ramsey did a couple of weeks ago. I think it was week 8 or something. Basically, you just have to, or maybe it was week 10. All you have to do is just limit those 9 routes. So essentially those go fly routes that DK just runs, like outside release, right up the middle of the field, or not right up the middle, but right up the sideline or whatever side he's on. He just goes 9, just goes all the way deep. And if you can stop that from happening, if you can get over top of him and keep him underneath, force him to take those underneath throws and take away the deep ball with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I think Lockett has 8 touchdowns this year. He's been phenomenal in the short to intermediate portion of the field. So what do you do here? Do you match up DK against 2 people? Do you put, let's say, Julian Love or Logan Ryan and Isaac Yiadom on DK Metcalf? Or do you put James Bradberry, man coverage, just like let him shadow DK the whole game? I think with the way Bradberry has been playing lately and the fact that he was dominant against guys like, I wouldn't say dominant, but he was very, very good and had some really great performances against guys like Michael Thomas, Julio Jones. He's used to that type of, elite talent. I think you put him up. You put him up against DK Metcalf and you really, you let him go. You let him shine. You let him do what he's being paid to do. You man cover DK with Bradberry, and then you take Lockett, you put Isaac Yiadom and give him some help, because Isaac Yiadom has been looking better, but Tyler Lockett is one of the best receivers when it comes to Russell Wilson running out of the pocket, trying to look for a receiver downfield and find somebody open. That's the problem, and I see a lot of people talking about fake punts, maybe a fake extra point, get as many points as you can get, just trying to do something creative. And I think last week, the Giants special teams coach said it was the worst game he's ever seen a unit of his play. It was the worst game he's ever seen from his special teams unit. So I'm expecting a far better game and more disciplined one today than last week. What do you think, Anthony?
Well, first I want to talk about DK Metcalf.
Yeah, go ahead.
My game plan for them, you don't put him in single coverage with anybody. I mean, like, I love James Bradberry, and I think James Bradberry will lock him up, but single coverage, DK Metcalf is like instant touchdown this season. I have the stats to back it up here, right? So DK Metcalf leads the NFL in total receiving yards against single coverage with 768 yards. The second highest total is 568 yards by Devontae Adams, a full 200 yards less than DK Metcalf. And Metcalf has also totaled 8 touchdowns versus single coverage this season. So you don't want to single cover DK Metcalf. I don't care who it is. He even went up against Stephon Gilmore. And I mean, anytime he had single coverage with Stephon Gilmore, he still found the way to score. And it's not even because DK Metcalf is so special. A lot of it is because Russell Wilson is so special that when you have someone in single coverage and you're so pinpoint accurate, when you have such accuracy, you can throw them open against single coverage and you can just make plays like that. So it's really a lot of Russell Wilson. Metcalf is phenomenal too, but to me, you have to double cover. Whether that's James Bradberry and a safety help or Isaac Yiadom and safety help, you have to have the safety over top.
Oh, you're gonna need the safety.
You can't have any single coverage on DK Metcalf. And
now
in regards to special teams, though, obviously it was kind of a travesty last week. It was a real mess. It was really, really bad. But I do think this week it will be better. I think Judge probably was pissed, got over there, smash some heads in, and they should have it.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall after that.
Right, me too, man. Me too. He was probably screaming in the film room, livid. Right? Yeah, but I think Nate Ebner was out last week, right? He got injured. Is he in this week? Because I think that's really crucial.
I think he's active. I don't think it was anything serious.
Okay, because if he's playing, I think the special teams will just be better. Because I think that I don't know. I think he was a big part of that. He is the captain of the special teams unit. So I think he was a big part of that. Big part of the poor performance last season was having the Ebner on the sideline. So I'm hoping that his return to the lineup this week will see an improved special teams performance.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to hit on some of the questions people are asking, are we going to spy Russell Wilson? You have to spy Russell Wilson. Logan Ryan, I think actually could be one of those guys. If you watched our film review of him this past week against Cincinnati, he keeps his body very parallel to the sidelines, and he always has his eyes on the quarterback. Right, that's one thing that I really liked about Logan Ryan. He's always looking at the quarterback, where he's going to go with the football. Obviously, Russell Wilson is one of the best at trying to look off safeties and get them to go a different direction. But I think Ryan is one of those super experienced guys that we can expect to kind of figure out Russell Wilson and what he likes to do. McKinney, I don't think is going to be extremely incorporated into this game plan as of yet. The Giants. So what I'm trying to understand with the Giants and Xavier McKinney is that they're not going to just give McKinney starting reps because it's Xavier McKinney. Their defense has been playing lights out this season for the most part. They're ranked 10th in points allowed. I think 6th or 5th in rush yards allowed per game, 19th in pass allowed. You don't just give Xavier McKinney reps because he's Xavier McKinney. You have to ease him into the team and allow him to make some plays. Prove that he's going to be an upgrade over Logan Ryan, who's Julian Love, who's actually been playing decently the past few weeks. Mitigating those big plays and single high safety looks and moving down into the box too. Julian Love is a pretty decent player that gets a lot more flack than he should. But I think Xavier McKinney eventually will start to steal some of his reps. But I expect maybe Xavier McKinney will get around 15 reps this week. I think he had 3 reps last week. He had a tackle. He had 5 reps last week.
Reps, yep. And I think 2 on special teams. He had like 7 snaps in total, something under 10, which is pretty much what we predicted. We said that he would play 10% or less snaps, but I think that's going to go up week to week. So if it was 5 this week, I think it'll be 10 this week, and it'll be 20 next week, and then eventually 40. He'll be like really involved with the defense. So I hope that he's out there a lot more today. I do think this is a good opportunity to get those guys out there. This is really good competition, and iron sharpens iron, right? So get McKinney out there, have him go up against Russell Wilson, maybe as a QB spy, maybe, just play some deep safety, whatever. Let's get him a little bit more experience against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It can only help him.
Absolutely. And with Seattle's offensive line, they've been pretty decent this year, but they have some serious struggles. So right guard rookie Damien Lewis out of LSU has had a phenomenal season in run blocking. He has one of the best run blocking grades in the NFL. His pass blocking, on the other hand, is pretty bad. So I think if you put a guy like Leonard Williams up against him, Dalvin, they can take advantage of him in pass protection. And then at right tackle, they're onto their 3rd string at right tackle. I just saw that they're expected to start Jamarco Jones, who's actually a guard. He's the 3rd string right tackle for the Seahawks. And the guy played 3 reps in week 12. He had 66 reps in week 11. The guy has like below average in every single category. That's a player that we want to take advantage of. So I expect to see a lot of Jabal Shared, Carter Coughlin, Cam Brown, and then rotating those fresh legs at right tackle to try and take advantage of that. So keep an eye on that right tackle spot for Seattle, Jamarco Jones. You might see some success there from guys like Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. I think Coughlin actually might have one of his better games this week. I'm actually pretty excited to see, because he's a guy in 2018 ranked alongside, Chase Young, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, ranked along those numbers with them in terms of pass rush success rate. In 2019, he was kind of hampered by injuries and such, but I really like the way Carter Coughlin plays. He's very, very quick. He's very, very agile, has great bend around the edge. And I'm excited to see what he can do with some more reps, because now that Kyler Fackrell's on injured reserve, what do you think they're going to do, Anthony? Like, do you think that they're going to rotate or play the hot hand, play the veterans more like Shared? How do you see this OLB position kind of unfolding?
I think we'll see a lot of Carter Coughlin today and Cam Brown. I think those rookies are going to be elevated because they were worked into the lineup week to week, and they got a lot of playing time last week once Fackrell went down. So I'm just expecting them to get even more playing time this week. I just think that Carter Coughlin is a player that I really liked. I watched his film. I did a film breakdown on him and Cam Brown a while ago. I came out really liking Carter Coughlin. I like Cam Brown as well, but Carter Coughlin was like just a true pass rusher. Like, he has all of those traits. The only reason he went so late in the draft is because he's pretty undersized. Like he's really the size of an
Yes.
inside linebacker, maybe even a little small for that too.
He's a good
So he's
outside
really,
linebacker size.
yeah, he's really small for an edge rusher. But the pass rushing traits are there, man. Like he's quick.
Mhm.
He's got the bend around the edge. He's got those things that are kind of hard to teach that you really have to refine. Like he's got good hand fighting and stuff, so I like him a lot on the edge. I think get him as many reps as possible, keep getting him experience, see him grow and get better. He could be like a really solid player. He was dominant at Minnesota. He like broke
He was.
records at Minnesota, had tons of sacks over there. So I hope that he's the guy on the field today for most of the game. Since we are so thin at the edge rusher position. I'm a big fan of Carter Coughlin, hoping to see him play. And then Cam Brown, I like a lot if you use him in a hybrid role. If you move him inside, you move him outside. You really play him around. I think that's really what he's good at. I know we have Tay Crowder playing ILB2. Tay Crowder's there next to Blake Martinez. I'd actually like to see Cam Brown get a few reps there. I think that he could fit that role really well.
I agree. Carter Coughlin, and this is interesting because he went to Minnesota, but he had offers from better schools. He decided to go to Minnesota because his family went to Minnesota. It's a lineage thing. So that's why he elected to go there and, dominated there. I think he probably could have went somewhere else and been better, or if not the same. Nonetheless, Ramin Chowdhury, hopefully we can confuse Russell Wilson today. Maybe we should put a Rubik's Cube in front of him and let him see what that does to him on offense. But no, I agree with you, Simon. I want to see Russell Wilson get pounded. I want to see him on the turf. The problem is, obviously, the Giants don't have that depth at outside linebacker, but Patrick Graham has done an unbelievable job scheming blitzes for this defense. The interior three, Dalvin Thomas and Dexter Lawrence, has been getting more reps. He looks really good. Dexter Lawrence is a guy who's been so underappreciated this season because you don't see him pop up all that often, but he's been phenomenal. He's a guy that if you let Dalvin or Leonard Williams walk, he's a guy that sees his reps increase and suddenly you're like, oh, I see Dexter Lawrence now. But then you have Leonard Williams, obviously. That interior three is going to be the difference maker in this game, in my opinion. Just like it was a couple weeks ago when they got that sack to finish the game. I forget what was against the Eagles. Cincinnati. Was it Cincinnati this past week? Yeah, it was.
The ball shared with the strip sack.
Exactly. Yeah. So he got the strip sack, but I think this interior line is going to make some plays today. I want to see them get their hands up in the throwing lanes for Russell Wilson. I want to see them push that interior. The Seattle Seahawks have a decent interior, but those guys are pretty much unstoppable. There's a reason that the Giants rank 7th in sacks this season without any outside linebacker support, pretty much. Every game, and Anthony knows this because we see it on film every week. Every game, Patrick Graham sends some cornerback blitzes. We saw Isaac Yadam and we saw Darnay Holmes wallop Brandon Allen last week.
Oh, yeah.
Big ones, big hits. So I expect to see some of those off the edge. They're going to give as much help as they can to the outside linebackers in that pass rush. So, expect to see Russell Wilson running for his life a little bit. They need to be spying on him, but they cannot let Russell Wilson break any tackles. The second he gets away from the first tackle, you're screwed. It's just waiting to see where he hits you. If he gets away from that first one, you're basically just like, you're stone cold. Where is he going to take advantage of us on defense right now? Because that's what's going to happen. If you get that first tackle, if you take him down on the first chance, the Giants will win. That is my prediction. If they can get him down without letting him escape, the Giants can win this game. But it comes down to getting off the field on third downs. This is the major categories: getting off the field on third downs, winning the time of possession, and winning the turnover battle. Those are the three major things. I think Colt McCoy is going to throw an interception today, just because he has very, very little.
He almost threw one last week on like 6 throws. So
I know. So I think Ugo Amadi, their slot cornerback's going to get one. That's what I predict.
Bold prediction there. Yeah, I think that I do expect Colt McCoy to struggle at least somewhat in this game. I know it's a really great matchup for him, but it's kind of a big environment, Seattle. I know they don't have any fans in the stadium, but it's still Seattle. Totally different weather environment than it is on the East Coast, being on the West Coast up in Seattle. So that, and then plus you're going up against a big playoff team and you're playing in relief of a quarterback who's been playing really well this week. It could be a really tall task for Colt McCoy. He might get a little flustered at times if he's under pressure, might throw a pick or two. I think that he's going to at least play okay, maybe be a game manager, but I don't expect him to hit a whole lot of, deep shots and be out here going shot for shot with Russell Wilson. I'd love to see it, though. I'd love to see Colt McCoy just throw like 5 touchdowns.
Colt McCoy's no joke.
Yards. That'd be sick.
Colt McCoy is no joke quarterback. The guy can
He's
sling
no
the ball.
joke, but I don't know. I think really the key, as everybody in the chat is saying, it's Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham is the key to this game. If he can just confuse Russell Wilson, like someone in the chat said, if you confuse Russell Wilson, you can win this game. The problem is Patrick Graham. Yeah, he's great at disguising blitzes and disguising coverages and being very complex defensively, right? But Russell Wilson is one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL, where is reading coverages, recognizing blitzes pre and post snap, escaping them. So it's gonna be a chess match between Russell Wilson and Patrick Graham. That's what it is. It's a chess match, and
Agreed.
whoever's better at chess will get the win for their team this week, I guess. That's the key matchup, man, right there. Patrick Graham's brain versus Russell Wilson's brain.
I think, okay, so I'm predicting this. I think the Giants are going to start well, and then they're going to have to make some very significant halftime adjustments so that the Seahawks don't figure them out, right? I think the Giants defense is going to start off strong. I think they're going to do well. And then the second half is going to come around and they're going to need to change things up, confuse Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's thrown 10 interceptions this year. That's more than Daniel Jones has thrown. So keep that in mind. He has been turning the ball over a couple times. If you put pressure on him, get the ball in his face, he will make a couple mistakes here and there. He's not invincible. But like someone mentioned before, I want to give a couple shout outs to Alan. Who asked a question. I'll answer that in a second. Curtis, obviously my guy, Philip Santana, big fan of ours. Really appreciate the love, as well as Simon. Devils fan. I can't see your name there, but big shout out to you too. Thank you for joining the chat. AJ Nix. Who else we got? MLB Joey, appreciate you. Airborne Cheeseburg, always here. Love you, bro. But as for Alan's question, gotta find it again. He said, if the Giants win with McCoy this week, would you consider running with McCoy again if Jones is 75% healthy? Don't want to injure the hammy again. So I actually just saw this online. I think Jordan Ronan posted it from ESPN. Take it with a grain of salt, if you will. I know some people are mad at him. But essentially he said, Daniel Jones was actually, the Giants were very surprised how close Daniel Jones came to playing in this game. They were like, we didn't expect him to even be close to playing against Seattle, but he actually came relatively close. So with that in mind, I think next week, I predicted this would be a 1 to 2 week injury. Hamstrings, it didn't look like it was anything serious because he was standing, walking around. He was doing some speed drills throughout the week during practice. So we saw some good movement from DJ. I think he will be playing next week against Arizona. I think he'll be, rehabbing. Obviously, he'll be out this week, but the fact that he was close tells you that this is probably, 2-week injury. So he gets 2 weeks to heal up and he'll be good to go. But altogether, I think that the Giants are going to need a lot from Colt McCoy and Wayne Gallman. The problem is, can you actually expect Wayne Gallman to run for over 100 yards? Because they're going to need that.
I mean, that's going to be tough against this defense. Like we said, they've got a terrible pass defense, but their run defense is pretty solid. See, me personally, even if Jones, I know you're saying that Jones is probably going to be ready to go next week, and that's great. And I hope that he is, and we can see him play. Even if he was at 75%, he's got to play. We have to pick up some wins. I mean, even if Colt McCoy does show out this week, right? Are you going to expect Colt McCoy to show out week in and week out, or are you going to expect your starting quarterback to show up week in and week out, right? So you got to get your starting quarterback out there, because at the end of the day, Colt McCoy isn't the long-term answer, and he's not the guy you're going to be starting in the playoffs if you make it there. Daniel Jones is. So this Arizona game is basically a playoff game. There's only a few weeks left. We got to pick up some wins. That's one of our more winnable games on the schedule, even though it's still a really tough game. So I got to see Jones out there no matter what. Like you said, I think it sounds like he's going to be out there, so I'm very excited for that. I really wish he was playing today, because I agree with someone said in the chat, I think today could have been a career day for him against this defense. It really could have been like a total shootout between these two teams.
Yeah.
But, oh, well, I think this happened last year too, right? He got injured and he was supposed to go up against Miami, and that would have been his career day, and then he couldn't play. So, hopefully one of these seasons he'll get that career day. Hopefully it'll come in the playoffs. Hopefully we'll meet Seattle again in the playoffs, and I'll have
that'd
the
be fun
day, and then we'll get the win. That would be really fun.
Yeah, and shout out to AJ. Appreciate you tuning in. I actually think Golden Tate's going to be targeted more with Colt McCoy in the game. Golden Tate is a really good last resort receiver. He always is in space. He finds himself in space. We've done a couple of film reviews where he was just wide open, and Daniel Jones just didn't throw it to him. That wasn't part of their scheme, or he just missed him in the progressions. But I think Colt McCoy targeted him a bunch of times last week. where Daniel Jones might not have. I think that we should expect to see less Darius Slayton. I don't think we're going to see much from him. I expect to see a lot of crossing routes from guys like Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram, those drag routes across the middle of the field. That's what I really expect to see, grind out those first downs. We're going to see a lot of running the football on first and second down. And then we're going to hopefully see those short first downs, time of possession, right? The biggest factor for me in this game is time of possession. The Giants need to control the clock. The past 3 weeks that they've won, they've won time of possession every single time. There's no coincidence. It's part of the winning formula. If you have the ball more on offense, you keep your defense rested. And that was what happened earlier on in the season, by the way. Our offense was so bad and couldn't even stay on the field for very long. The defense ended up just so gassed by the time the second half came around. They would try and make their halftime adjustments, and they were just so gassed and tired. They couldn't do it. But now we're seeing the offense stay on the field for much longer. Daniel Jones is making these really strong drives, and it's actually helping the defense significantly. And it's really, really good to see this team making progression like that. But now that leads to the question: if Colt McCoy can't keep the offense on the field, the Giants are going to lose this game. Right. That's how I feel about it. If Colt McCoy can pick up first downs, get those first downs on third downs, demoralize this defense. This defense is not good. Like their run defense is good. Their pass rush is okay, but their secondary is garbage. And they just lost a starting cornerback in Trey Flowers. They're garbage. So they need to take advantage. They need to throw the ball. You can't get around that fact. They're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah, what I'll say is I don't think that it's important for Colt McCoy to keep the offense on the field. I think it's important for Jason Garrett to keep the offense on the field.
That's
I think
fair.
what this game is going to require is a great game plan by Jason Garrett, where he simplifies things for Colt McCoy, lays everything out there in front of him and doesn't ask him to do too much, but also figures out a way to get the running game to be highly efficient, get the offensive line playing at a high level, and hit some big plays on the ground. Because the Giants, we've had a very efficient run game this year, but we haven't ripped off any huge 30, 40-yard runs, other than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has done that. But really the running backs, I think season long for Gallman is around 20 yards, right? If I'm not mistaken. So try and rip off some big run plays. We really haven't had any huge home run hitting run plays. See if we can get that to work this week. I know Jason Garrett has the capability of doing that. We've seen it with Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas when he was over there. So, try and get some big plays on the ground this week. I think that would really be beneficial for Colt McCoy, simplify things for him, make the Seattle defense fear the running game, and then they'll ease up on Colt McCoy, because otherwise they're just going to stack the box and they're going to have Colt McCoy try and beat them. And then, things can get a little messy there. So the running game has to be efficient. And I think that really comes down to a good game plan from Jason Garrett, where he allows things to get opened up for Colt McCoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to see. I'm watching this red zone right now, and the Jets are about to pull off a victory. Who would have thought that? 0-11. I just messed with them yesterday because they tweeted out in 2019 when we passed on Sam Darnold. They were like, "Thanks, Giants," and I was like, 0-11.
You want to know what's funny, dude?
For that.
I was playing Madden this week. I was doing a franchise mode, right? And I was playing as the Giants against the Seahawks, and I noticed the Jets beat the Raiders on my franchise mode. And I was like, you know what? I could kind of see that happening this week, and it looks like it's about to happen. So I guess Madden knows best, right?
You could say Madden knows best, but I don't know. The Jets, I mean, the Raiders are a decent team, but they lose weird games, just funky losses.
And they win weird games.
Exactly. They win weird ones like that. Didn't they blow out the Packers at one point?
I think so, yeah. And they were sparring with the Chiefs both times.
They beat the Chiefs 40-32.
Right. They did beat them. They did beat the Chiefs.
And they beat the Saints too.
And then they came close to beating the Chiefs the second time. And
they beat the Browns.
Right, yeah. They win. I don't know. I guess they play to their competition. They play up or down to their competition. That's really what they are.
Yeah, they're a very funky.
I also want to touch on Darius Slayton real quick. Big Nuts brought it up, and a couple other people are talking about it. Darius Slayton is very, very frustrating, man, because he is here one week going for 100 receiving yards, and then he's nowhere to be found the next week going for 0 receptions. Darius Slayton is he's just very frustrated for me, man, because I think he's got so much potential and he can be very good. But I've been saying it for a while. I think he's a great wide receiver too. I don't think he's wide receiver 1. I feel like he's really proved that in recent weeks. A wide receiver 1 just wouldn't disappear down the stretch like he has. But you know what? Against this secondary, maybe this is one of his 150-yard weeks. And then maybe next week he'll go back to 20 yards, right. But I think that this could be a good boom week for Darius Slayton against the secondary.
So usually I'd agree, but I think he's banged up. I think he's actually carrying a couple injuries.
I think so too.
And that's why last week, you remember that beautiful, beautiful throw by Daniel Jones that was like 20-yard line to 20-yard line, erased any of that ball strength, that arm strength, debate, erased any of those concerns. He launched this ball like 50 yards downfield, and it looked like Slayton just wasn't running 100%. Like he slowed down, visibly slowed down. And then probably the last 5 yards to the ball, he tried to put it in high gear and just couldn't get there. I think a normal Darius Slayton catches that ball and it's an easy touchdown. But believe me, I played him in fantasy last week and I had 0 points. And this is like the second time this has happened this year. So I'm pretty much not starting him anymore because I'm pretty terrified of that happening again. Number one receivers don't disappear like that, right? I think he's a great compliment to a number one receiver. If you got a guy like, Allen Robinson, or a guy in the draft, or, Kenny Galladay, I think he would be a perfect complement for one of those guys. And I think the Giants are going to target a big name wide receiver this next offseason because Golden Tate will be gone. They can backload the contract a year or two just to fit it into the cap for 1 year. Realistically, this offense is very much capable of being elite in a couple of years. I think the offensive line, we have 3 rookies on there right now with Matt Parrott, Andrew Thomas, and Shane Lemieux. And then you have basically a rookie center in Nick Gates, who's been getting better every week. And then you have Kevin Zeitler, who people think might be cut as a cap casualty. But realistically, you have Sterling Shepard, you have Darius Slayton, you have Saquon Barkley coming back. If you get a number one wide receiver and Evan Ingram, you're looking at an offense with so much potential. It really just comes down to play calling. Now, Anthony, I know a lot of people have been asking this question, but do you think Jason Garrett, with all of those weapons, let's say they have a number one wide receiver, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram, a good offensive line, Saquon, can Jason Garrett scheme a very good, offense for the playmakers that they do have?
Absolutely. I think so. I think he's done an excellent job over the past few weeks, scheming together a great offense that really plays to the players' strengths and mainly to Daniel Jones' strengths. And I think that's really been the key. And that's why we've started to win games. It's why we've seen Daniel Jones turn the ball over less and be more efficient as a passer and as a runner. I think Jason Garrett knows what he's doing in terms of the quarterback position, making it easy for Daniel Jones to find success. I don't think that Slayton disappearing week to week is Jason Garrett's fault. I think that, like you mentioned, there's some sort of injury that's bugging him, right? But also, I just think he's not a dominant force that defenses really lock in on. And when they do, it's not that hard to completely take him out of the game. That's the problem, right? And then I'll say Garrett, I have had some gripes with the way that he's run, with the way that he's utilized Evan Ingram. But overall, I think, again, that could be a limitation from the offensive line or from Ingram himself because he's dropped a lot of passes. His route running has been pretty inconsistent this year. So I don't know, man. I think that Garrett, we've seen him do it. We've seen him with Dallas. He had Des Bryant. He had Tony Romo. He had DeMarco Murray. Like this was when they made that deep playoff run. And then they also had, what was that?
Jason
Witten, of course. They had Cole Beasley. They had a lot of.
Beasley was a beast now. I really like
Beasley. Is just a great route runner, dude. That's what he is. He is an excellent.
He's a fantastic slot receiver. Yeah. But Mike Manning, I 100%. And hey, what's up, Trina? Mike Manning, I 100% agree with his take that Saquon needs to be using the passing game a lot better. When you have guys like Alvin Kamara, who I would rather pay any day of the week than Saquon at this point in time. You look at that and say, okay, Saquon's averaging like 4 receptions per game. And when Drew Brees is playing quarterback for the Saints, Alvin Kamara is averaging 10 to 15 receptions per game. They need to be activating Saquon, maybe not that much in the passing game, but I want to see 7 to 8 targets on different route combinations. I don't want to see these these running back screens or these little bubbles, short routes. I want to see Saquon running, seam routes from the slot. I want to see him running drag routes from an outside wide receiver standpoint.
Nice Texas route.
And what the hell is it with not using the Texas route? Like he's one of the best guys when it comes to stopping on a dime and cutting on an arrow, also called an arrow route. If you're not utilizing players to their strengths, and Saquon Barkley's biggest strength is his elusivity and his ability to stop on a dime. If you're not using him in that way, you should not even consider paying him. As good as he is, you shouldn't consider paying him because you can't use him properly. Don't pay a guy you can't use properly. Go let somebody else who can actually use him pay him. You know what I mean? That's the problem with Saquon Barkley, is that we have never been able to figure out. Pat Shermer was the closest to being able to figure it out in his rookie season. And then it just kind of fell apart in year 2 after the injury.
I'm going to once again be far more positive on Jason Garrett than you are, right? And I'm going to say I think that Jason Garrett would have figured it out with Saquon Barkley.
I agree.
Had he not gotten injured. I think the reason that Saquon Barkley wasn't playing well beforehand is because, we've talked about this a lot. Jason Garrett was really trying to get a feel for this team. And I think that a lot of the scheme was dependent on how bad the offensive line was earlier this season and how the offensive line had zero continuity and zero chemistry. I think that really affected Jason Garrett's play calling, which in turn affected the way that Saquon Barkley was utilized and in turn affected the way that Saquon Barkley performed. So, but also not to mention that Barkley wasn't playing his best football before his injury. He was struggling in pass protection. He missed a few holes. He was looking for the home runs, which is normal. He usually does that early in the season because he's very excited, and I don't blame him. And then usually later on in the season, which is really my whole point here, later on in the season, I think that Garrett and him would have really started to click. Barkley would have been a more disciplined runner, going more, north-south and only taking the east to west when it's schemed for him to do so. And the offensive line would have been playing better. Because if you look at the offensive line right now and the way that they're blocking for Gallman, had you had that in the first 2 weeks of the season for Barkley, we might have had an upset victory over Chicago or even Pittsburgh had we had this kind of offensive line play. So you never know.
But that's the thing.
Yeah, so I'll just remain positive on Jason Garrett. You can be more negative than me on this one. I'm usually a more negative guy, I feel like, anyway. So I'm going to remain positive on Garrett, and I think that he's done a pretty solid job this year.
Look, he's developed along with the players, in my opinion. Good coaching, Spurs better performances, and the last 3 games the Giants have lost, it's been by 6 points total. A total of 6 points they lost the last 3 games by. If they're playing the way they are today, those last 3 losses, I think we win. Matt Peart is active today, but because of, and this is what I've heard today, the Giants were, they played Graham Gano last week, and he was still experiencing symptoms with COVID. He tested negative, but he was still experiencing symptoms.
I don't think it was symptoms. Like, he didn't have like a cough or anything. He was just tired,
right,
physically drained is what it was.
Right,
like as if he had mono.
Exactly. So essentially, they're going to take it easy with Matt Peart this week. I don't expect to see him very much today. Expect to see more Cam Fleming, which is a disaster last week. He had 3 penalties. This is just the process.
I really hope we see some Peart.
I hope we do. And I think we will, but I don't think it'll be a ton. I think we'll see maybe 20% of reps from Peart, mostly from Cam Brown. Thanks, Jay, for coming. Just to finalize things before we hop on and watch the game, obviously I'm going to be live tweeting the game, posting the highlights throughout. So, keep an eye for those. Obviously give me a follow. Give us both a follow on Twitter. We're going to be posting things throughout the game. Obviously we'll have the podcast out tomorrow. And maybe we'll do a little review. We'll pick a player that performed exceptionally well, and we'll do a
or exceptionally poorly
film review.
Sometimes
I'd rather do one that's good. I don't like watching bad film.
Sometimes it's interesting though to see why it went so poorly. So
it's fun watching bad film from other teams.
We want to do our score predictions and team MVP for the week. All right, score prediction. I'm going to go. Do not stone me. I'm going to go 30-10 Seattle. I think that, I just think it's going to be a struggle for the Giants offense to really get going with the backup quarterback. I know Colt McCoy is no joke. He used to be a starter in this league. I just think, we've talked a lot about continuity throughout the season. The lack of continuity at the quarterback position this week, I think, is really going to hurt us. And Seahawks are a very good team, and I think the offense, Seattle's offense, is going to put up a good amount of points. So I think they're going to crack 30 while we're going to hover around 10-17. So I'm going to go either 10-30 or 17-31, something like that. So that's my prediction. MVP of the game for us, though, I think if we win, it's going to be Wayne Gallman.
Okay. I'm going to go here just based on the fact that the Eagles managed to stay in the game last week against Seattle, and Seattle's coming off a short week, not rested entirely. Eagles offense is absolute garbage. I think they only lost 24-17. I think this game is going to be, I'm going to say the Giants somehow pull off a win because I'm eternally optimistic and I can't say they're going to lose when Anthony's saying they're going to lose. So I'm going to say 24-21 Giants win. and the team MVP is going to be Leonard Williams.
I hope
think
so.
I think he's going to have a sack fumble against Russell Wilson today.
I certainly hope you're right and I'm wrong, but we'll
Yes.
see, man. We'll see.
Yep, we'll see. We'll see. And then everyone, if you want to drop your score prediction real
12-7.
quick.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone give us your score
That's
predictions.
a weird score.
Gano is going to be game MVP. That's interesting.
But also think about Gano though. Gano hit 4 field goals last week. If he misses one of those field goals, the Giants lose that game.
Yeah.
He's a difference maker. He's been an absolute stud for us. And at the same time, guys, if you're not, I assume everyone's already subscribed to the channel if you're in the chat, but if you're not for whatever reason, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We've been posting awesome content on all platforms, and this is one of our major ones. All 12 points from Gano, definitely possible. Big nuts.
Yeah, big nuts is funny, man.
Gano has big nuts, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, definitely. He kicked COVID's ass and then kicked the Bengals
the
ass.
cojones on that guy, just incredible.
Yeah, listen to Alex, the cojones.
Anyway, my friends, thank you for tuning into the live stream, and let's go Giants. I'm hoping that they can pull off this 69-0 win, Curtis. Obviously, you have some other alternative motives on your mind, but nonetheless, go Giants, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for the Monday. We'll be doing another live stream maybe on Wednesday, and just doing something live for you guys to come interact and ask us questions and whatnot.
Live mailbag this week. We want to do
live mailbag.
Hop in, ask questions on the live stream, and we'll just chill and talk with you guys and answer them for about an hour or so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we'll catch you guys soon.